This IEBC manenos and how prepared they are for the 2022 elections is really confusing Kenyans. Because we had Ruto complaining the other day, Deputy President William Samoei Ruto, complaining that 1 million voters had been removed from the voter register. And then on Sunday, when Raila Odinga was given the green light by the IEBC, cleared to run for the presidency, Raila produced a document with complaints. Raila even sensationally told us that there are some counties which had suddenly gotten 1 million new voters added to their number of registered voters. Pop! From nowhere. What? What's going on here? I thought Raila was in the system. And then this Ruto guy is also complaining. Very confusing. Well, on my show, I go into great detail. And it is very fascinating. Because I also take you back to other past elections and how they were fiddled with. And I explain why it is possible for somebody who is not in the system to interfere with the IEBC. It is a very rare set of circumstances, extremely rare, for somebody outside the system to actually influence things at the IEBC. So karibu sana to this highly sensitive, super fascinating, but very factual show today I have for you. Enjoy. This IEBC issue is really confusing Kenyans, especially after Sunday, when presidential candidate for Azimio, Raila Odinga, was cleared. Immediately after he was cleared, he presented a document to the IEBC with 10 major points where he's seeking clarification. If you look at it another way, he was complaining of some issues that need to be fixed by the IEBC before the general elections. Now hold on a minute. Raila Odinga is in the system. So what was he talking to the IEBC about? Doesn't Raila have better ways of fixing this? Directly via the executive? The way the executive fixed the 2017 general elections, and especially the presidential elections? What's really going on here? Now, to avoid any confusion here, we need to totally understand how elections in Kenya are stolen. If we don't understand exactly what happens in the backrooms as an election is fiddled with, then we'll always be confused by what is happening. So let's clear the air. Now, my biggest breakthrough in analyzing election fraud happened in 1997, when I went into a polling booth and I noticed some policemen strategically positioned inside the voting hall, and taking notes. Later on, when we discussed this with my late political lecturer, who was still alive then, he too told me that he noticed the same. And we both agreed as to what was really happening. I've covered this before on this channel. The Moi system of rigging was very intricate. Intelligence officers and policemen were stationed in most polling booths in the country with a very simple task: to estimate the number of votes cast. Yeah. And this was not very difficult to do in those days, because the ballot paper was not as huge as it is these days. And the way the ballot paper was prepared was in such a way that it would be easy for somebody standing quite far off to see which particular candidate a voter had marked. And if my memory serves me right, in that particular election, you mark towards the top of the ballot paper, that is President Moi. You mark towards the bottom of the ballot paper, and that would be the opposition. To be more specific, at that time, Mwai Kibaki. A little higher from the bottom, you'd be marking the other opposition presidential candidates in that year. Now, votes are announced after something called tallying. Yeah, putting all the votes together and ensuring that they're correct, that everything makes sense and is in order. But on the Kenyan rigging scene, tallying is where it all happens, yeah, to this day. So the officers out there, once they give their estimated figures, somebody else sitting somewhere else very far, most likely in Nairobi somewhere in an office, would fill in the appropriate number of votes in each polling station. Yeah, the whole idea being to ensure that the winner of that election, we're talking about 1997, was Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Now, for our purposes today, notice who is involved: the intelligence community, the executive. That's how it was in 1997. And not everybody in the intelligence community, no. Very few specific people knew what was being done. This information was strictly on a need-to-know basis. Now, in 2002, there was no fiddling. Yeah, those elections were authentic, free, fair, and verifiable. And Mwai Kibaki won by a landslide. Now, the chief presiding officer over those elections, yeah, was the chairman of the ECK then, Electoral Commission of Kenya, was a man called Samuel Kivuitu. Yeah. Now, this is very important to note. Samuel Kivuitu was also the returning officer in 1997, the chief presiding officer, chairman of the Electoral Board, the person who makes the decisions. By law, the presiding officer over the presidential elections. And 1997 was fiddled with, but 2002 was free and fair. And so Bwana Kivuitu suddenly started getting awards from all over the world for his good work over the 2002 elections. He started being invited to give talks all over the world, to give tips, especially to the rest of Africa, on how to carry out a free and fair election, even under pressure from the government of the day. And that is why in 2007, or in the run-up to the 2007 presidential elections and general elections, when there was a spirited effort by the Mwai Kibaki government to remove Samuel Kivuitu, yeah, from his position, the opposition strongly resisted because they felt they could trust Kivuitu. He had delivered in 2002, and therefore they were sure he was going to deliver in 2007. It was never to be. Now, I hope you're allowing me this aside, yeah, because it's very important. The big take-home lesson here is that the same person, the same presiding officer, the same electoral board is able to deliver a free and fair election without government interference. But with outside interference, the same electoral body, the same people, in this case Samuel Kivuitu, end up with a big mess. which of course we blame on the person and we blame on the electoral body. But that is not 100% accurate. Now, for purposes today, 2007 was super fascinating because everything was okay until the 11th hour. Results were being streamed into our main TV stations, NTV, KTN, etc., at that time. And Raila Odinga was leading. And then suddenly, somebody switched off the lights. The streaming results vanished from our screens. And Kenyans were in the dark as to what's happening. In Kisumu City, supporters of Raila Odinga had an overnight celebration. The streaming had stopped, but clearly Kibaki was not going to catch up with Raila. The winner, they were sure, was Raila. So in the wee hours of the next morning, when they woke up, they were looking forward to the announcement by Samuel Kivutu that the winner is Raila Odinga. That announcement never came. Lunchtime, 1 p.m, nothing. Then towards the evening, some very strange, bizarre results came in. Mwai Kibaki was the winner. In sharp contrast to Daniel Toroitich arap Moi's elaborate rigging, the Mwai Kibaki rigging of 2007 was haphazard, sudden, last minute, and it was all done again at the tallying stage. The person actually announcing the results. Nothing to do with the results that came in from the polling stations. Because if they really tallied the true results, there is no way Mwai Kibaki would have won those elections. That's the truth. So, who are the fellows involved in 2007 in fiddling the elections? People very close to the executive, plus some members of the intelligence community. Now in 2013, something super fascinating happened. It was decided that this thing of having too many people knowing what you are doing was not acceptable. And therefore the way of reducing the number of people involved in the fiddling is by going digital, going the computer way. With a computer, you'll only need technical support and somebody sitting in front of a computer to do all the dirty work. That's a total of 2 persons. And they decided to do even better than that. They found software that automatically adds the votes. But those configuring it made a fatal mistake. They forgot or they overlooked adding different number of votes into the software. For instance, hypothetical example, instead of adding 50 votes to the person you want to win at every turn, you alternate it. You make it 50, 5, 10, etc., etc. They didn't do that. The result, some hawk-eyed Kenyans quickly noted that the results being beamed in were mathematical impossibilities. There is no way those were true results. Those were results coming out of a computer algorithm. Make no mistake about it. Kenyans are very smart people. The only problem with Kenyans, let me put it the way Professor Makao Mutua put it over the weekend. They are not stupid, but they do stupid things. Yes, there's a difference. You do things which don't make sense. But in actual fact, you're very intelligent. But you insist on not using the God-given intelligence. The intelligence you gained and knowledge from education. You decide not to use that. And you decide to head straight for stupidity. That's Kenyans for you. And so we were given some excuse about the system failing. And in the end, it was done manually. So they went back to the old ways. The results were tallied manually. Somebody fiddled with the figures here and there. to ensure that the winner they wanted won those presidential elections. Who were involved in 2013? Again, the intelligence community, with very few hand-picked civilians or people who are not in the intelligence community doing one or two other tasks to complete that fraud on the people of Kenya. Now, from all these past elections, it was obvious that 2017 was going to be an upgrade. There was a lot of pressure from Raila Odinga and the opposition. Many people knew that Raila Odinga and the opposition had the numbers to win that election hands down. But not everybody knew that. And so something brand new was introduced into Kenya. Shall I just call it the perception game? Now, polls had been used previously, since the days of Daniel Toroitich arap Moi in the very first multi-party election. Polls which were prominently displayed, published in the local dailies at that time. But in 2017, polling became a whole new ball game. The polls were very frequent, detailed, so that it was very difficult for anybody to challenge them. And say these polls are wrong. Uhuru Kenyatta is not more popular than Raila Odinga. You couldn't say that. Although it was the truth in 2017. And then, of course, this was fully backed by the 36 bloggers and Dennis Itumbi. You know, the Swahili have a saying, siku za mwizi ni 40. And indeed, in recent times, Kenyans have seen very clearly the games that started in 2017. Photoshopping, where you show a crowd picked from somewhere else, and then you superimpose your candidate and you claim that was their meeting. And then you forget how narrow the street is, where you're saying this rally took place. And you get carried away. And you turn a narrow street somewhere in Kenya into a 1 kilometer stretch. Double, triple, dual carriageway. Full of crowds. Which you've cut and pasted. In one instance, removed from a Christian rally somewhere in Nigeria. I believe hosted by a very famous evangelist, the late Reinhard Bonke. Perception games, fake polls, etc., etc. Of course, the whole idea is so that when you produce your fake results, they completely tally with your fake perception and fake polls. Well, in 2017, it didn't quite work out, like clockwork, the way it was expected to work out. Clearly, somebody in their planning omitted to consider that Kenyans are indeed very intelligent people. It is not easy to fool Kenyans. With all due respect to other countries, it is very easy to fool Tanzanians and Ugandans. In my view, it is even easier to fool Nigerians. But Kenyans, tawe. Kenyans, usicheze na Wakenya. Anyway, again, the game was played at the tallying stage. And we know today that the tallying was being done somewhere in Karen on a single computer, a laptop, and sitting behind the keyboard is a man called Bwana Chirchir. I'm sure most Kenyans have that information. An IT guru, well known, former CS in President Uhuru Kenyatta's early cabinet, Davis Chirchir is his name. Again, those who were involved were a very small team from the intelligence community, need-to-know basis, and a few civilians, very few civilians. You know, it is very difficult to keep a secret when you have so many people involved. The more people you have involved, the higher the chances that the secret will get out. Yeah, somebody will go home. His wife will prepare a hot bath for them. Prepare a very nice supper for them. Whisper sweet nothings into their ears. Alafu wataanza kuropokwa. You know, in the office today, this is what the government is doing, etc., etc. Yeah, hence the need to keep the circle as small as possible. Bottom line of what I'm saying, it is not too difficult to carry out a free and fair election, to receive the results from every polling station. Yeah, key them in, do your sums, and announce the results. What is so difficult with that? And any electoral body, including the IEBC, is very capable of doing that simple thing. However, everything goes wrong when there is outside interference. Now, fast forward to the present, it seems that this is going to be a very interesting presidential election and a general election. Why? Because for the first time, we have the real potential of having interference of the elections from two opposing camps. Now already, Kenyans have seen telltale signs of the IEBC being greatly influenced by a man called William Samoei Ruto. Yes, Ruto is out of government. Yes, Ruto is not in the system. But as I've said in this channel before, Ruto and Chebukati have a very long history. To cut to the chase, it is Deputy President William Samoei Ruto who saved Chebukati's job. You remember after the 2017 elections when there were so many manenos, so much heat on the IEBC, and many of the commissioners resigned, took off. Now Chebukati hung on to his job as chair of the IEBC, and the person who helped him to execute that is William Samoei Ruto. Chebukati owes Ruto. That's the truth. And remember, in this instance, Ruto is not an outsider. Yes, he's out of government for now, but he has been on the inside of government. He still has his people all over the place. He's still very influential within the government that is criticizing every other day. To insiders, it is no secret that the Deputy President and Bwana Chebukati are tight. Yeah, if it was in the judiciary, if it was a case in court, chances are that somebody would have applied to have the judge, Chebukati, recuse himself from this case or from this particular contest in our instance. How do you fail to do favors, a favor here and there, for the man who is responsible for keeping you in your job? You tell me. And these people we're talking about are human. Some of them, their characters are in question, based on what they've done in the past, being charged in court, etc., etc., being found guilty of grabbing an ordinary Kenyan's land, etc., etc. That is factual, 100% factual. It's not propaganda. It is in the records. It is documented. Now, of course, let's not fool ourselves. Even the system, the government, is capable, has the power of interfering with the process. That is the truth. Let us not fool ourselves. Even the government side, even the system, as some people call them, are capable of interfering with the electoral process, fiddling with the votes. They have the full capabilities of doing so, as they have done in so many elections in the past, especially presidential ones. However, this time there is a huge difference. on the side of the system. The character of the man, the presidential candidate for Azimio, the man who is now being backed by the system, his character is such that he will not accept a stolen victory. To him, a stolen victory is a loss. And indeed, we have evidence. Because I can already hear somebody asking, Chris, you're just praising Raila. Where's the evidence? Let me give it to you. In 2013, a few short years after Mwai Kibaki had stolen the election from Raila Odinga, stolen his victory from him, mchana, and then gotten himself sworn in usiku, at night, just a handful of years after that incident, somebody approached Raila Odinga, actually some people, and told them, things are very simple this time round. Just make sure William Samoei Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta are not running. ICC manenos. Just enforce that. You have the power. Just get people to say, no, we can't have those people running the election. And that will be the end of them. And you'll win. It will be a walkover. Raila said, no, I'm not interested in that kind of victory. I'm not interested in victory at all costs. I want a clean victory where nobody will say this person was rigged in, or this person organized for all his competitors to be out of the game. Kalonzo Musyoka style. I challenge you to go back and do your research, because a lot of this information is in the public domain, and find out what Raila did to ensure that Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto would be on the ballot. And I'll give you more evidence. A few weeks ago, the public prosecutor, the director of public prosecution, Bwana Haji, announced that criminal proceedings had been halted until after the general elections. Now, of course, the people most affected by this are people actually running in this election, including some candidates running for the presidency. I can tell you, based on what I know, that despite very spirited efforts from people like Atwoli to make every effort to ensure that William Samoei Ruto is not on the ballot, and there are many ways of doing it, based on the man's past, what he has done, Raila Odinga has been a very strong influence in insisting that William Samoei Ruto should be allowed to run, so that Raila wins the election free and fair, or loses the elections free and fair. Now, I can't resist asking you a question. What do you think a man called William Samoei Ruto would have done in 2013 if he was in the shoes of Raila? And he needs, for instance, to block Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga from running for the presidency in 2013, hypothetical situation. What do you think William Samoei Ruto would have done in 2022, in the run-up to the 2022 elections, when there was a possibility of blocking his main challenger, Raila Odinga, because of the character of Raila Odinga, hypothetical example? What would that man have done in the shoes of Raila Odinga? I'm not going to answer that one. You answer it for me. Now let's tie all this in together. Raila Odinga, in being cleared by the IEBC to run for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya, presented a detailed document with 10 points, questions, complaints, if you like. Raila even made a very sensational allegation that there are some counties in Kenya which have seen a sudden rise in registered voters. And that rise is not small. Raila said those counties in question have suddenly received 1 million additional voters from nowhere. And those names are in the IEBC voter register as we speak. Wah, wah, wah. Now, unfortunately, in politics, I'm very sad to say this, people who play according to the rules have a very high chance of losing. They tend to lose. The people who tend to win are the evil people. The people prepared to do anything to win. The good guys very rarely win elections. That is the truth. And therefore, considering all the factors we have mentioned in this video today, believe it or not, there is a possibility that the 2022 presidential elections, despite Raila Odinga being with the system, as we are being told, there is a possibility that those elections could be stolen from him. Ay, 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 ay. Now, ODM supporters and Raila Odinga supporters, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble. But based on the facts I have presented, that seems to be likely. It is possible. I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm saying that danger is real. It is very real. Now, a quick reminder before I leave. Let the Blood Flow. That amazing ebook is still available. And I've talked in this video about the 2007 elections and how they were stolen. You can get all the details in Let the Blood Flow. And of course, we still have that very super amazing offer. Details on your screen right now. Go for it. Yeah, because the video version of this ebook will be out very shortly. And of course, the only ones who will receive that video version of Let the Blood Flow, an amazing detailed ebook with information you'll not find anywhere. The only ones who will receive it are those who have ordered the ebook. Yeah, so I strongly recommend it. Until next time, this is Kshs. Kumekucha.